What's up, guys? We're here for episode number 4 of Tilted Talk. As always, I'm your host, Trooper, joined by my co-host, Trooper.
How you guys doing? Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Hoping you're tuned in now and not 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, that would probably be for the best. But it is a big world today big day in the world of Fortnite. Big world. Oh man, this is going to be another one of those Fortnite episodes. I can feel it now.
We're already on our way there.
Already on our way. But yeah, guys, so obviously patch 8.2 dropped today, and that was massive. There's a lot of news around that, a lot of discussion. The community is kind of split, maybe leaning slightly towards the negative side on some of the changes, but we'll dive into all of that and some more today. Obviously, the Fortnite World Cup schedule was announced this week as well, and how you can qualify for that. It kind of went hand in hand with this patch release, so we're going to get into that as well. Then, as usual, we'll be weighing in on some community discussions in the hot takes portion of the episode, rather. We got the clips of the week for you guys all lined up. We got some nasty ones this week, so I'm really excited to show you guys all those. And then if you guys have any questions, you can now start either tweet them to us or drop them in the chat on Mixer, Twitch, wherever you're watching this, and we will answer them live at the end of this episode. So, first things first, patch 8.2. I feel like we need some like Darth Vader music right now. You know what I mean? Like
you're saying that we need evil music. Is that what you're saying? Because of the state of the patch.
we might. We'll leave that to the end of the discussion. But
yeah, so the way that the people have been reacting this week, and yeah, a lot of people think it's the most evil thing that's happened to the game so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of even like pros, streamers, community influencer type people who are also upset. But let's take a look at why people are mad, I guess. Or where do you want to start? I think actually let's start with the nice stuff first. Let's start with what's been brought in that's kind of positive. So there's a new.
We'll give you the good news, then the rest of it.
Right. We'll give you the good news, and then we'll give you the news that is more debate worthy. I mean, some of it I think some people are very positive about. Like I have seen a lot of discussion on Reddit and stuff like that. People on both sides. Obviously, a lot of the noise is coming from the negative side, but I feel like that's just a symptom of everything. Like the people who are angry make the most noise. The people who are happy with it don't say anything. They're like, oh, that's cool. So you got to keep that in mind when you're looking at things like Reddit. And excuse me, guys. I'm a little bit under the weather, so if you see me coughing or sneezing or looking like I'm crying over something Trooper said, I promise I'm not cringing. You didn't offend me. I'm just trying to deal with a little sinus cold here. But so the first thing is they put in a new trap into the game, the poison dart trap. It actually looks pretty cool. So for one, it does health damage only. It doesn't actually affect your shield. So just having shields won't save you from this. Did you get a chance to try it out today? I did. I thought it was pretty cool, actually.
I haven't got my hands on it actually yet. I did check out the trailer video and just seeing it in action from that point of view. And I could see how it tends to work. Most likely it looks like it has the same effect as the regular stink grenades do. So
yeah,
except it has a range of, I believe, 3 building squares wide. So if that's placed on a wall on the far end of a house of the indoors of an interior somewhere, I mean, that can definitely catch you off guard at the end of a hallway. I mean, there's definitely ways to maneuver around that. I can also see that being used in a lot of edit plays too, to kind of catch people off guard. I mean, a lot of different ways that you can do that, especially with the distance that it's traveled. I mean, it's if I can really think about it, I mean, obviously it only has that one little path that it travels, whichever way it's facing, but it's one of the only things I can think of. Has there ever been anything added to Battle Royale that you can remember like this, where it's shot automatically, kind of like an auto turret in a way? I mean, they've had the turret, but that's been that was always manual. So yeah, this is a really interesting item, I think, for us to see around, especially around now for season 8, this late into the game, to introduce something like this now.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's actually really going to be useful. I like the point you made about the building battles, because it's 3 horizontal squares, but it's actually 4 vertical grid squares.
Oh, so good point. Okay.
If you have somebody, you know how people tend to hide underneath you, and when you build up that 1x1, they're like, I'm just going to run underneath your 1x1. Instead, you could put that trap, you could edit down 1 level, put the trap on the ceiling facing down, build yourself back up, edit back up, and all of a sudden, that person who's hiding at the bottom of your 1x1 tower is going to start taking the damage, and it is not a negligible amount of damage either. So it's 8 ticks over 7 seconds, and each tick does 10 damage.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get hit by it, it triggers that effect. Now, if you get hit by it twice, it just refreshes the tick. So let's just say you get hit by it, and then you kind of move out, move back in, or stay in there for too long, and the second and third tick start hitting you while you're still in its range. You will actually reset the ticks, and it will do over 100 damage. And remember, guys, like we just said, it doesn't actually affect the shield; it only does health. So if you get that to refresh on somebody, they're dead.
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of people to start using this. Excuse me. A lot of people starting to use this probably in the end game circles. You're going to see people having to fight and outmaneuver the storm and all the people around them and trying to build and keep high ground and just try to keep their wits about them. I wonder if you're going to see people bust this out, maybe stack these and just start throwing them down everywhere because they do have that distance. So they'll probably be able to clean up a lot of kills from people that are getting damaged from that storm, because since it doesn't take any damage to your shield, it goes right for that HP. That's going to make them even more sweeter in the closing moments of any game.
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially once the circle gets so small that you can really abuse that multiple square range. I think that it's going to be really interesting. And I like the fact that because it does that and it has that extra distance, it's harder to play around it than it is the general spike traps, which are very easy to see. You can kind of put them in predictable situations. Obviously, it doesn't have the same insta-kill effect that the spike trap has. I mean, we've all seen, countless clips at this point of building somebody into a 1-by-1, throwing traps all around it, and the guy just gets mucked by spikes coming from all sides. But this trap won't quite do that, but it does offer, it makes you really, really safe, I feel like. Like, people won't be able to come very close to you without getting hurt, especially when people are building side-by-side 1-by-1s. I think that could be a really interesting use for it.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we don't see the Epic try to balance the game and say, hey, this trap travels three different squares. We need to now balance the spike trap and extend the spikes for the length of 3 to 4 squares. So that would be a little nuts. Hopefully we don't see anything crazy like that.
Yeah,
that's what makes this trap so unique, is since it has that travel distance, it has that giant area of effect. Pretty much compared to, I mean, I would love to see the comparison in maybe a creative mode where you would say throw one of the stink grenades, compare that to the distance that's covered by one of these traps. Essentially, you'd probably get about twice the distance.
Yeah, definitely. I think the balance between the two is the fact that the spike trap does so much damage instantaneously, whereas this trap does give you more time to get out of dodge once you realize you're getting hit by it. But once you take that damage, you are going to have those ticks apply to you no matter what. So it's a minimum of 70 health that it's going to do to you, which max is going to leave you with 130. You better hope you have shields. Otherwise, you are in some trouble. But to combat this direct health damage, they've added some new forage items. So, we've all grown accustomed to the apples that you can find under the apple trees in nice parts of the map, and the mushrooms that you can find kind of like by shifty shafts and some of the swampier parts. But now they've added 3 new items. So they've added bananas, coconuts, and chili peppers. What I really think is cool about this is they've actually, again, kind of following the apple and mushroom idea, they've put them only in the places of the map that make sense for that thing to be there in terms of the biome and the climate, which again is it's a pretty cool little touch. So the bananas are essentially an apple. They just give you 5 health when consumed, and they're found in the tropical area of the map. So now, apples were only in kind of the moderate area, I guess you could call it, like the normal area of the map. And now you have, the apple equivalent, the banana, in the tropical areas. The peppers are in the desert only. Now, the peppers, I think, are the best ones, personally, because they give you 5 health, but they also boost your movement speed.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to outrun a storm, or even in the middle of not in the middle of a fight, because obviously while you're eating it, that's going to put you in a bad spot. But if you kind of have a 1-by-1 built and you notice some peppers are around, or you're building walls to stay alive, you can eat that pepper and then book it pretty quickly. And, that 20% movement speed buff is obviously going to make it a lot harder for your opponents to hit you. And then finally, we have the coconuts, which you have to actually damage palm trees to get them to fall. Now, they'll give you 5 health or 5 shield. So they'll just give you 5 of whatever you're missing. They're basically a mini slurp juice, and they're both in the tropical and desert biomes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I can see the peppers and the bananas, but trying to bite like head first into a coconut, I don't know. You might lose health in that trying to do that. But no, I'm wondering. Point. I'm kind of looking at the image, and I'm wondering. All right, so now when are we getting a coconut skin? When are we getting a chili pepper skin? We already got the banana skin. But
Yeah.
with those new items, I'm assuming that they try to use them to combat maybe a little bit of that counteraction where with this update, which we will mention. But yeah, removing that 50 HP gain per or that XP or that HP gain per elimination in
Yep.
all of the regular game modes. They took it out and put it only now in the arena in the rank game modes. But this might be the best way, in their opinion, that they're going to try to counteract that, because now there are more areas on the map where you're going to be able to find these smaller instances where you guys can kind of get a little bit more HP. But it's going to be, same thing as the apples. You got to kind of keep your wits about you when you're doing it. And it's a little grindy, just like kind of building a mats. But, these are, I still appreciate the hell out of these things, because you always forget they exist until you really, really need them, when you'll find the mushrooms and the apples. So I really appreciate them, because there's a lot of fights where I'll end up with 10 or less HP, and I needed them. And I'm really happy that I ended up coming across them half the time. So
Exactly.
I'm glad they added these, because I don't see any real issue with them trying to add more interactivity to the map that kind of gives you some health. There might be a limit, though. Obviously, where how many vehicles are too many. I wonder at what point how many foraged items or how many in-game health items are too many. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good question, but for me, I feel like the main positive of these things is it actually lowers the burden on players to carry band-aids and shields. Because I feel like, you only have 5 inventory spots in Fortnite, unlike some of the other Battle Royale games where you can get a better backpack that gives you more inventory space. And there's nothing really that counts as a special inventory slot, right? So if you take grenades, there's no grenade slot, which I still think would be an amazing thing to add to the game. One slot that is only usable for grenades. You can carry one type of grenade in that slot. And then if you want other types of grenades, then, you can use a regular item slot for them, but you have that one specified grenade slot. But by giving you more of these like on the map healing options, they remove the burden for you to have both band-aids or medkits and shields on you at all times. Because I feel like, especially now with that, the change that you just mentioned, you really, really need to have healing items on you. Otherwise, if you get into a fight, you're just not, even if you come out alive, you might not have any health. So I feel like that almost incentivizes, turtling to an extent, because it's like, why would I take the damage if this other guy doesn't have any shields or healing items, and I don't have any shields or healing items? I might get 1 kill, but I'm not going to be in any position to get more kills or win the game, right?
Exactly.
So before we get into that, though, I guess we can talk about the 2 other things that I think most people, most people should be happy about, although one of the changes I did find a little strange. So there were some changes to the baller, the pirate cannon, the treasure maps, and the pump shotguns. Let's start with the baller. Oh, excuse me. So essentially, they're not satisfied with the baller. They actually made a change that you kind of recommended, where apparently on the next patch, so 8.3, we're going to see that players are going to be allowed to shoot through the glass of these ballers. The non-glass parts will still have the collision and block damage from bullets, but at least on the glass itself, you're going to be able to shoot through it and hit players that are in it, which hopefully will remove a lot of, that 10, 15 baller meta at the end of the game. And I think you shot me a clip from the Blackheart Cup over the weekend where there was just like 15 ballers inside in the circle at the end there. It was absolutely nuts. And the baller no longer applies damage to players on collision. So you can't just like run into somebody and have it like run over them, which I think is also a nice change.
Yeah, it probably shouldn't have the same feel as an actual wrecking ball. I mean, it's already has so mobility that being able to essentially boop people or shove them, I do believe that it still has that effect, the bounce effect, but you don't actually lose any damage, because in the end game, if you weren't in one of those ballers and you got caught out in the open and you got sandwiched by 1 or 2 of them and they hit you, I mean, you would most likely you're going to get knocked out into the storm. So that on top of the damage you take from that, sometimes there would be people that are low on health that would just get insta-killed almost right after that collision. So they're trying to find ways to keep it so they're viable in the end game still, where you may have to make the sacrifice if you want to be in them, but still have that mobility gain, but also be a little bit exposed, because being able to shoot through the actual glass, I do think balances it a little bit, because there is this small spot on the back with the engine that you would be able to actually shoot to damage the vehicle itself. But most people are going to have good enough aim so that they're going to be able to probably tap a few shots to make people second guess that they're going to probably hop out of the thing before it even gets destroyed and try to turtle up. So I would expect this to change a lot about those ballers in the end game. And I really, with that on top of how last week the impulses knock it so much farther with them and vehicles overall than actual characters. I think 300% now you get knocked with the effect of the impulse grenade. They're now becoming a little bit less and less viable in the end game. I mean, that really depends though, because impulses aren't too heavily supported late game. But you you never know. You always. It seems that a lot of the most unorthodox play styles tend to really show out when crunch time comes down in these late game situations.
Yeah, well, I mean, just being unorthodox in general in any game, especially at the higher levels, people learn to expect certain things. They know what you're going to do. And it's almost that like so bad it's good type of play where you carry the impulse grenades or you do something with the ball or something unique that other players are just not at all considering somebody who's still alive to try and do. Like, why would you try that? Why? But at the end of the day, they get you with it, right? So maybe not a strategy for every game, but definitely a strategy you can use at least some of the time and have it really work in your favor, I think. Which is good. I mean, you definitely want some variability. You don't want to have the exact same game every game. That kind of just gets boring. So it's good that, they're trying to figure out a way to keep it in the game, but ultimately, I'm kind of a purist when it comes to a lot of these games. And I think that vehicles are almost always an incredibly difficult thing to balance just because they already give you increased mobility, increased ability to traverse the map and to really pull, especially with this and having the grappling gun attached to it. I mean, you can just do so much wonky stuff with it already that, having you be invulnerable. I mean, I think we discussed it at length when it came out that we were saying this thing sounds and, from our initial impression of it is just broken. So they've been steadily nerfing it since, which makes sense. I wish they wouldn't release things so broken that they have to nerf it every time. But I mean, hey, I get it, right? Put it out there, have people have a lot of fun with it. And then, as it gets more and more towards that World Cup season and towards more serious portion of the season and of the year, you kind of bring things in line and hopefully they don't release anything too wonky over the next couple of months that could really throw the game off in such a crazy way and force them to make such continuous balance changes.
Well, a lot of people forget the game technically still is in beta. Am I right about that? I mean,
I don't know if this counts as beta anymore, man. They've said beta for like 4 years, well, not 4 years, right. But you know what I mean? Like since the game came out, essentially, it's been like, we're in beta. And like for the first year, that was okay, but you're on season 8 now. I don't think you can be on season 8 and also be in beta. I think they have to pick one or the other. Excuse me. Okay, so next thing that's kind of been changed a little bit, and I think this is a nice little quality of life update, but it's not really something major. So the treasure maps, obviously they're very rare. They give you a lot of great stuff, but they now have the directional indicator attached to the player, and it emanates from the area of the treasure map, so it improves the visibility of it, essentially. It makes it a little bit easier, so you don't have to constantly keep pulling this thing out, checking it. It should just be a little bit easier for you to look at on the map, and it's going to pulse for 3 seconds when the item is equipped. Pulse every 3 seconds, excuse me. So you don't have to keep actually physically activating it. That's not really that big of a change to me. That's just a nice little quality of life change. I mean, obviously the thing with those treasure maps is you really kind of have to know, especially if you have a decent distance to travel to get to it, it's helpful to really know where you're going. Because if you actually have to hold the treasure map out, you don't have a gun out. So if somebody gets a jump on you, you're kind of in a bad place, so to speak. So I think that's just more a nice little quality of life update than anything.
Yeah, I remember using them and constantly having to pull them out, and pull out my weapon, and then pull out the actual map itself, because the way that the arrow would work, sometimes you would actually miss the direction, and you would just have to follow the sound. And as we know, sound isn't in the best state right now, so it was sometimes really difficult. You would just kind of have the general direction, but that's all you ever really needed with those things. I tend to use those maps a lot because you usually get lucky with how the range of how close the actual loot is to where you actually find the map. Apparently, there's a glitch. Maybe it's a glitch, or maybe this was always a thing that was added in the game. I wasn't ever aware of, though, but I think it was 2 players. They might have been on the same team on a duos, and they both had 2 separate maps that they found, which both were leading them to the same same loot spot. So I wonder if that just had... I'm wondering if that had either A, The fact that they don't give you two separate maps at the same time if you're in a squad. But if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure multiple teammates have definitely had maps before and led themselves to separate separate loot spots. Yeah, so I don't think that was the problem. So either that was just some insane odds, but either way, I mean, I'm wondering if that's something that people would have to worry about ever. But I mean, there was one game I recall where I did find three maps in about like probably a 5-minute span, and was able to loot each spot before the storm came. So
wow.
I mean, besides that game, I don't ever have really anywhere I find the maps too often, and I think that was also before they tweaked the amount that they showed up. So now I think there is a little tweak on there. Where the amount that they actually show up on the loot or on the floor loot. So I think that'll probably balance that out a little bit.
Yeah, I think they cut it in half actually.
Yeah,
they nerfed that pretty hard because I mean it's just the loot that you get is so good.
It's awesome.
We were talking about this the other day too. It's like the amount of gold stuff.
It's so worth it.
Oh yeah, like
half the time I don't take everything with me.
Well, you can't even.
No.
It's just there's too much, and if you have anything else that you like or that you're holding on to, I mean, you just can't hold on to everything, right? So, anyway, that's a nice little quality of life adjustment. The next thing is the pirate cannon. So they've adjusted the collision to ensure that the driver's seat is always enterable without needing to, nudge the cannon. They moved the seat prompt locations for easier entry. So again, a lot of quality of life stuff. Here, though, they've increased the radius of cannonballs and player land explosions from 200 to 250 units. So this should actually make the cannonball a little bit easier to hit, as well as if you cannonball yourself into somebody, that damage radius is going to be a little bit bigger. So obviously they're trying to promote a little bit more of offensive use out of this rather than just using it as a tool to move around the map, which I think is cool. It's pretty hard to hit somebody with it, honestly. So the fact that they make that a little bit bigger, I'm personally completely fine with that.
I mean, I never had any problems where I actually have zero thoughts in my head where I was playing the game and somebody was shooting a cannon at me and I said, "Oh man, this guy with the cannon is super annoying." You never really have problems with it. It's really used for rotations for the most part, and I'm actually glad that they increased the damage radius for it because I still haven't completed the challenge from I think week 1 or 2 where you have to kill somebody with the cannon and either have to kill somebody or deal damage. Okay, deal damage. I still have 0 out of 100, so I gotta get on that.
Same here.
The best way to do it is probably go to Lazy Lagoon and just catch people early. That's what I'm gonna try doing. Maybe land ship and then shoot them all towards the dock. So
that little dock town.
Now we got a little bit more spread, so it's gonna help a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. They've also actually reduced the impulse / knockback from when you fire the cannonball itself. So that's good. Again, I think it's encouraging people to use them offensively more.
Go back. Pretty good distance. I'd say like a whole building square. You'd probably have people go backwards after they fire the cannon.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite as much. I mean, I think it's a little bit more than the flint knock pistol. A little bit more knockback, I think. Just based on my own, I don't have the actual numbers on that, so I couldn't be definitive, but it feels like it's a little bit more. I think you're right about maybe one full building square.
Only reason I'm not 1,000% sure on that is because I don't 0 out of 100 damage. I don't use them. So I have to, now I'm going to actually give it a shot though. I'm going to pick them up. I only ever hop in them to try and make some rotations. So, I'm happy. Going to be a little bit more viable now.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. And then the last little, weapon tweak or thing like that they did this patch was actually with the pump shotgun equip rates. So I saw a lot of comments saying that the uncommon and rare versions should be boosted to be equipped as quickly as the legendary and epic versions. They actually did the opposite, and they kind of nerfed the legendary and epic equip times to be more in line with the uncommon rare versions. So 2 questions for you on this. First, do you think that having them all be the same equip rate is a good thing? Or should that change with the rarity? Is that something that, provides enough value or is not necessarily game breaking enough to work within that context of, a better rarity item? And 2, did they do the right thing by nerfing the higher tier ones equip rate, or should they have buffed the lower tier ones? What are your thoughts?
Well, if you look at the actual problem with the shotgun originally, they added that delay that's there to begin with because people were double pumping. People were getting so good with switching between the shotguns and using them to where it felt like a semi-auto to almost an automatic weapon. People were actually shooting it way faster than the semi-auto shotgun could shoot. So or the tactical shotgun. So you really have to think, because of that cause and that effect, and they had to pull that out, make that delay on Epic's end for everyone to kind of initially balance or slow down the rate of the game. Now with these new shotguns, the Epic and the legendary version, I didn't ever have an issue with. I mean, obviously we got used to the delay on the pumps, and the ones with these new shotguns kind of felt like they went under the radar until recently, until that mention online about the pullout times. I don't think that the pullout times. I don't think it would have been terrible to keep them the same way. Because if they were unaffected and you keep those legendary and the epic pump the same, the same as they were before, you know, that gives them another layer of value in terms of the loot pool. You would have the smaller tiered shotguns that are there, the rare and the rare and the common or the uncommon, and then you have the epic and the legendary ones. So you know, when you jump up that make them even stronger, that pullout time, I can see that also being a benefit to holding them too. But now they've evened it to where all the shotguns are shooting it with a consistent time frame. So I still don't believe that they've ever fixed or added any pullout time with the deagle or the hand cannon, anything like that. So
I don't think so.
You do have certain weapons where it is viable to not double pump, but do that the same concept where you would swap weapons, swap powerful weapons that are semi-auto and then shoot them quickly. So
yeah,
that strategy isn't fully taken away, but for the shotguns, they have effectively eliminated that completely, and even the playing field with that tier.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it kind of makes sense to me that they haven't done that with like the deagle, because it's obviously a lot harder to hit that shot than it is with the shotgun. The reticle on the shotguns are way bigger, right? So it's a lot easier to get that shot off and, you know, to make it connect. But I do kind of understand the people who are saying, well, listen, if I've got, you know, an uncommon or a rare pump, and this guy's got a gold, like a legendary or an epic, and I'm already at a massive damage disadvantage. I should, like, if I can't even win the fight because he can just pull it out faster than me, then that's all, like, just ridiculous, it seems like. So I definitely understood that argument, but I think you're right that it might have been actually, you know, as much as people online complained about it today, I think, you know, they made the right decision in pushing the loadout time down or up rather than down to even it all out, because, you know, like you were just saying, we saw the double pump meta, and that was very, very common. Everybody was running it. You didn't have to be ninja to pull that off successfully. Let's put it that way.
That meta was taking place the same time that they released the jetpack. So you actually had people flying around with the jetpack double pumping. It was madness. That was a crazy, very, very interesting time in the lifespan of Fortnite. Let me just say, if you were around during those days.
I love how many different metas there's been already in Fortnite. It's actually pretty incredible. I'm madly impressed with how much there's been.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a reminder, guys, if you are in the chat, you know, and you have a question that you want me or Trooper to answer here at the end of this episode, please just drop it in either, you know, whatever chat you're in, and we will get to that at the end of the episode. Okay, now for the very last, you know, fun little update they made, the limited time mode, everything is lava.
Yep. That's
pretty cool. I had quite a bit of fun actually playing that today.
I screamed quite loud while playing. It's definitely catches you off guard. It's very fun and really shocking when you get hit by that lava. I was under the impression it had the same damage effect that the lava in the volcano in the actual map does. I end up getting hit with it, and I got incinerated. I was trying out my keyboard and mouse again, and as soon as that lava popped up, I ended up accidentally pulling out my inventory. I started freaking out, and then I got killed in half a second. It was too late for me.
Ooh. Yeah, you got to you definitely
you see that guy on the side that falling off the building on the left side of the photo? That's me. That's me every game in that LTM, but I still have a blast.
Oh yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
It was fun.
I really like the fact that they give you mats too over the course of the game, so then that way you don't have to just mine forever, but you can.
Ripping, man. When I was playing, I'm like, did I farm 600? Where did I get all that metal from? And then I forgot after like the third game. I'm like, oh, that's right. They give you mats automatically because of the LTM itself. I was so confused. I'm like, did they add some insane increase to when you kill people? It took me a couple games to figure that out, but I'm glad they give you that opportunity because really you had no chance if you ran out of mats. I mean, that really wasn't fair. This is really really interesting, and I'm pretty sure people have been talking about a game mode similar to this for seasons now. So I'm glad that this has actually been a concept that they've pulled in, and I think this also sheds light on which I don't think we mentioned. What I think it was late last week. Epic announced the creative mode LTM contest. So you have, I think, until April 4th or 7th. It's in the first week of April. You can go into the creative mode and in the game and build your own game type. And they give you guidelines of how you could follow. It can be up to, I think the lowest is 4, highest are 16 players. So I'm not sure how they're going to do that LTM if they actually pick a winner, if it's going to be up to 16 or if they're going to just scale it to 100 players or whatever. But either way, it's a really, really fun, immersive, and engaging way for the fans to really share their creations aside from just adding new additions to the block on the map. This is probably the most exciting one aside from, I think, getting that film contest that they had playing at the Risky Reels screen in game. I think this one is probably the best one that they've done because, actually getting to play your own game mode. I mean, whoever makes it, they should be like top of the leaderboards in that LTM, right? I mean, that's their baby, so they should know all the secrets. That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, this is one of those things where this goes hand in hand with the Floor is Lava. People creating different things, different ways to practice and scrim in the creative mode where the storm raises from above or raises from below and above. So you can, mimic where the storm's coming from in all different ways and just try to practice all these scenarios. There are so many possibilities in creative mode that I could see this already being one of those created modes that people enter into the contest. So I'm glad that they pulled the trigger and just set the bar and said, hey, go nuts with this and have a blast. Cause clearly they know how to have fun with something like this. If you've got haven't gotten your hands on playing this LTM, I highly suggest it because it is highly addicting. I do believe the same spots of the map are where the lava sinks up. So if you do play it a couple times, you can kind of gauge where to stay away from, but it's been a blast so far.
Well, yeah, I think it just starts at the very bottom of the map, right? So you don't actually want to be places on the lowest elevation. You kind of want places that are a little bit higher up. That Viking Mountain, stuff like that. Maybe land Snobby Shores, work your way up there, or and out by Frosted Peaks. That's the name, right? It's not occurring to me right now, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Polar Peak, Frosty Flights, and Polar Peak. I was combining two things. That's what I did. All right, I got it. We're good.
Say Frosted Flakes.
I said. Frosted Peak or something. I think I said.
I'm kidding.
I'm trying to avoid another 410 episode. Frosted Flakes sound delicious right now, though. God, I'm hungry. Excuse me. Like I said, guys, bit of a rough cold, so bear with me here. But yeah, I think that pretty much does it for all of the really, really nice things that got added in this patch that we're all very happy to talk about. Now, for the discussion everybody's been wanting to have weigh in on. Again, if you guys have, your own input, drop it in the chat. We'll get to it at the end of this episode. The siphoning materials and healing from kills has been removed from regular. They've upped the regular mat cap, so you can have 1,999 of the mats again. You're not limited at 500, but obviously you have to farm that yourself because you're not going to necessarily have that that constant resupply from other players. So, what do we think of this? The siphoning mats, because this is where, honestly, I'll just do this now. See, I got the nice tilted towers, tilted tuck, and I think this has the community pretty tilted. There's a lot of people who are really upset. Actually, I think we actually even have some tweets, and we might even want to start with that. Do you want to start with that?
I mean, we could. I guess I gotta switch gears. We're not on the same page. I thought you were going to be talking about the travesty that is increasing the infinite dab from 13 hours to 14 hours. It's too long. It's rambunctious. I'm putting my foot down, man. but I assume that this siphoning problem is just as important. So we'll talk about that. I think more people might care about that.
Yeah. I mean, the infinite dab thing, it's already infected all of the sports arenas everywhere. You can't watch a sporting game without seeing people doing, the dab or, whatever this one is. I forget the name, but
it's called
you guys know what I'm talking about.
But it's called the hype in the game.
Yeah. That one. A lot of
No,
people
but
do that at sporting events. But this siphoning materials thing has the community up in arms. So let's see. Actually, I think we have a couple tweets just on this patch in general.
yeah.
So from Dakota's, obviously not very happy.
I mean, of course he's happy. He's laughing hysterically in the beginning of the tweet. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, he's
Yeah, that's positive laughter. That's
Dakota's
positive laughter.
content is not matching up with this current shift now with the game. He was loving that last patch. I mean, as everybody was. I mean, it was good for pro players, content creators. It was good for everybody. I really do think the casual players even appreciated it too. But apparently this was just a test run, and now we're seeing it back to normal. You can see a lot of people we're not loving this, really responding negatively. I mean, and a lot of pros, a lot of people sounded off straight up about really what's going to be coming now of the game, especially leading into such a big, heavy competitive season.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, we even saw Ninja put out a little video. We have Cypher PK here. He's, what did I just wake up to? Obviously not very happy. He did make out another tweet later saying, he's upset to see everybody so up in arms. And Tim the Tatman had the best one. I don't know if you can play that GIF, but it killed me today. I'm not going to lie. That made me die hysterically. If not, you guys should go check out that tweet and watch it yourselves. It's pretty funny. But that is essentially, what the pro players thought. We even had Ninja weighing in. He made a short little video. We're not going to play it here in its entirety for you guys, obviously, or play it at all, the audio. But essentially,
special guest Ninja on Tilted Talk, and then you tune in and we just play the video. Total clickbait.
Clickbait for the win. But no, obviously he wasn't very happy with that. He actually commented on the infantry rifle as well. I'm not sure if we want to get to that, but let's stay on the siphoning mats thing first. So that has been relegated to just the competitive aspect of play. Now, I understand why they might have done that. It kind of works more in the favor of people who, don't kill hunt and don't go killing everybody. But it kind of does make the game a little bit harder for the people who do just enjoy it. So let's just take myself, for example. I'm a casual Fortnite player. Okay, I'm definitely not competing in any of these tournaments. I can't build like these guys can. I'm not that good. But when I play battle royales or any game, to be honest, I like playing the game. I don't like hiding. I like actually going out, finding fights, getting into action. And what I noticed today was, holy moly, third party Oli. It was really, really rough. Yeah, the show will be done within, an hour. You can eat then. But
I wanted to say about that, man, with just this whole the way that they reverted these changes back, I can deal with the 50 health or shield. I can deal with that getting taken out and then having to revert back to managing your health.
Yep.
The one thing I really didn't like was they removed the cap on the mats at 500 each, and then the harvest increase that was there for 40%. They removed that as well. So now you have twice as many mats that you can hold, but now you're going to spend twice as long now farming all these mats, and it's going to make it's just I don't really agree with how the way that people were starting to play the game and focus towards end games and building and tunneling. A lot of the way the playstyle is now, I think it was perfect for the way that they had shifted that game. And one thing that'll clear up the entire blowback from the community, all the negative responses that everyone's fired in after this update. I feel like this would all be cleared up, really, if I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you can help me out. When this was announced originally, and it says in update 7.4, and right now we're on, what is this, 8.2. So when this was implemented, I could probably go back right now and look at the patch notes. I'll go back right as I'm talking about it, but it says here in the current patch notes for 8.2 that they implemented a few pop-up cup settings in 7.4 as a test in core modes. Now, back in the update when they added it, was there any notification, any type of hint that
it was a test?
It was a test, because I think that's where people are starting to get really upset because they thought, oh my God, the game's in such a great state. Maybe tweak a little bit here or there, and you're good. But then now they're saying, hey, this is just something we were trying to work out. And obviously, you could see from their response, if you read the patch notes, that I'll quote it. They feel that it has resulted in an unhealthy level of aggressive play and diminished other viable strategies. I mean, personally, for me, I did not want to have to worry about fighting off 2-3 people and then having to turtle up and heal, because then, you have to do the turbo build and somebody rolls up to you with an SMG or P90, and we all know how it can be. And man, and now with that and the harvest rate removed, yeah, I don't know. This is all like too much at once, I feel like, because everyone got so used to that new game mode, and people were practicing hardcore on it and actually getting a little excited now with the Fortnite World Cup coming up. This kind of, I just think, just everyone's kind of in a mass state of confusion at the moment. And that's why I wanted to, that's why I'm curious if, when it was mentioned, was this, specified that it's a test? I actually want to check right now.
That's a good question. I definitely, if anybody in the chat knows, please let us know, because that would be awesome. What's up?
Because I didn't notice. I remember reading them, and I think I just blacked out and just started playing. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I don't know if it actually did.
Yeah.
So it's all right. So I'll read it right now. So from the 7.4 notes, it says that they've added pop-up cup settings to default playlists. That's all it says. And then below that, we're introducing a few larger changes into the default Fortnite playlist as a test.
Okay, so they did say it's a test right from day one. Yeah. Now I kind of understand why, for the casual player, and I don't think that was
really a lot of attention was taken to that, and I think that's where all the confusion.
A lot of people don't necessarily read the full patch notes in full detail, and also that was a while ago, right? Like, what's the date on that press release?
At the top of that, the dates for this is 7.4. Last week of February, it looks like.
Last week of February of this year?
I think so. No, of this year. Or it was early February. Either that, or I'm looking at where it's talking about the Valentine's share the love. So
so it must be early February. See, the thing is that a lot of people were complaining about, you shoot one bullet at a guy and all of a sudden he can build the Leaning Tower of Pisa. People have gotten so good at building that for players who are not used to building, maybe they're coming from other battle royales or playing multiple, it just is so difficult to compete with that. So I think what they're really trying to do in the casual mode, obviously if there's an Epic person listens to this, they can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel like what their aim was to make it less about just building gigantic forts in terms of 1x1s and really trying to outbuild your opponent, and trying to use other things to outskill them as well, not just relying on solely building skill. Because that is something that a lot of people, I mean, obviously it's a big mechanic in Fortnite, it's a big primary skill, but I think it is something that a lot of people just rely on completely. They might not be able to shoot as well. They might not be able to do anything like position themselves better. They just kind of rely on that building as a crutch. Even though it's, like I said, one of the main mechanics. If that's all you do, then for newer players that can be very daunting, very difficult to pick up, and just trying to maybe prevent people from having access to being able to build so much. I think what might have been a little bit healthier on this, as you said, people got very used to this. Overall, the community really liked it. It does seem like a very aggressive tweak all at once, even though it's just reverting itself back to old settings. What might have been better was keeping the increased mat harvest rate, if that makes sense. But again, the main reason that they brought the mat count down from 999 to 500 was because people had too much of everything and they could just build forever, especially at the end of the game, right? So I do think this is trying to, it's tricky because ultimately, maybe keep the siphoning of health and shield, just that alone would have been positive, really, really positive. It would reward aggressive play, but then you still have to be cognizant of your mats and how many mats your opponent's spending, because if you guys both blow them all, then you're not going to have any mats left.
Yeah, I mean, something that we actually keep shadowing over. One of the keys in that change too is that your opponents aren't dropping mats anymore either. So your opponent was dropping, I believe, 50 of each material before, which wasn't automatically implemented into your account, but you would have to go acquire from their the spot where you eliminated them. But now that's taken out too. So the game has been completely stripped away from all of those W keying type of play styles.
Yeah. It is a little bit unfortunate because honestly, they say that they want to keep other viable play styles. this is just a personal opinion, obviously, but hiding isn't a viable play style. If you're one of those people who just hides all game, shame.
Yeah, that's how I played when I first started. I just treated it like virtual hide and seek.
Well, yeah, if you're new to the game, I mean, I think that's what everybody did at the very beginning. You just hide in the house the whole time and just try and stay alive. But again, it just gets back to it definitely gets back to personal preference. But for me, certainly, I like to find people. Like, I hate staying alive. Like, I hate making it into the top 10 without seeing somebody. That frustrates me personally. Like, you're just running across the map, you're hunting people, and you're like, where is everybody? I can't. Why am I on this island by myself? Like, this is kind of lonely.
Yep.
I want to get into some fights. I want to see some action. So, but that, again, that's just me. There might be other people who feel completely the opposite. They're like, nope, I don't want to see anybody. I'm just happy to farm and walk around. But my instinct tells me that more people like the action than like the not action, just based on the other changes they made in terms of making it easier to get around the map. However, maybe those changes, now that it is so easy to get around the map, it's a little bit easier to get yourself into fights if that's really what you're looking to do. But again, just the amount of third partying that I encountered today was unbelievable. Like, every fight that I had to, build, a two. I built basically a 1x2 instead of a 1x1. So I could kind of hide in the middle of it and edit around and just heal up, because if I built a 1x1, I was just getting blasted with SMGs, grenades, all sorts of stuff, right? It was just like, oh my God, what is going on out here? As soon as that fight's done and you go to loot the body, you have to build the 1x1 around the loot. Otherwise, somebody's going to kill you.
Yep.
So.
Were you playing regular games or were you playing arena?
I was playing regular.
Okay.
Because I haven't played in a while. And I kind of wanted to be able to win an arena game at the lowest rank, like I wanted to feel good about myself. Yeah. So let's get into the arena itself, because I'd like to, you guys can refer to us as prophets now. We did talk about this last week, and we're like, that would be kind of a good idea to bring in a ranked playlist to help out some of the more casual players. We know one of our viewers here in one of the first, I think it was week 1, actually brought that up, that he would really like a ranked playlist that would kind of siphon some of the most hardcore players out of the general population so that he could actually play the game and not feel like he was just getting absolutely dummied every time.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think that bringing in a competitive playlist was a good idea. Now, there's a couple of things about it that are interesting, to say the least. One, it obviously has these old settings, right? So it has the siphon, which is good, because for competitive play, they definitely don't want to promote people hiding. They want to promote fighting and all that sort of stuff. So that makes a lot of sense. Plus, you're dealing with higher skill players, competitive players. The building is an aspect of Fortnite that makes it unique. So they want to showcase that as much as possible. That's all well and good to me. I don't mind at all that the settings are different. I actually think that that's what they probably should do, is, introduce stuff to the general game, leave the competitive playlist alone. So, don't put a baller into the competitive playlist at first. Put it into the general population. Make any nerfs or tweaks you have to, and then maybe you can introduce it into competitive. But now with the Fortnite World Cup coming up soon, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, that's, it's risky to introduce stuff, because people do spend a lot of time practicing. And if you can introduce something that completely changes the meta, well, then, that's very frustrating if you've been practicing a lot and you're trying to qualify for something, and then all of a sudden rules change, the game changes, and you're not as good as you were, right? But obviously adapting is part of being a top player, but that's one concern. The other concern is that it does seem, now it doesn't say this specifically on the patch notes, but based on what I've heard on the internet and stuff, it does appear, so obviously internet sources, guys, like, this is very dangerous news that I'm about to break, because who knows if this is accurate or not. But apparently all platforms are in that competitive playlist. So if you queue up, it doesn't matter if you're on mobile, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, or PC, you're all going to get thrown in the same playlist. Obviously, that puts everybody but PC players at a massive disadvantage. But it does make sense, considering it's for the competitive mode. They're trying to find the best players, and PC is generally where they have their tournaments, right?
I mean, they're not hosting the World. If they host the World Cup, the stations are going to all be PCs. They're not going to be Xboxes. They're not going to be PS4s. They're not going to be iPads. You're going to have to be playing on PC. So if you are a godly mobile player, what if you're amazing at touchscreen? How does that transfer to keyboard and mouse or to controller? If you are one of the better players, if you do rank up in a lot of these pop-up cups on mobile, I mean, where does that leave you if you really do want to compete? You're going to have to try and switch to either a controller or a keyboard and mouse. I don't know if there's any way where they can have you hook up a pad to a PC and then you use your tablet as a controller. I don't know if it's there yet, but There obviously are now, there's somewhat limited amount of options when you have when it comes to the controls. So if you are a mobile player, I mean, I have watched some nutty mobile players in the pop-up cups for as far as clips go. There are some insane mobile players out there that don't use controller on their phones, but they're probably going to have to adapt just like you said, because I mean, if they do rank up, if they do place, yeah, they can get a chance to go to one of these events, but what's going to happen when they show up? They're going to have to sit down with completely different peripherals, and they're not going to stand a chance.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, there are some players who can compete on PC with, like, we see Nick Merckx. He uses a controller, and he plays against PC players just fine. So it is possible, 100%. It's just players are going to have to be cognizant of that and start making those changes now. I mean, obviously, it might have been nice for some of these players to get a big heads up on this. Like, hey, guys, by the way, you really have to be either playing with a controller or keyboard and mouse if you want any shot of making it to the World Cup. Maybe we would have seen some people pick up a controller or the keyboard and mouse a little bit earlier. But essentially, this arena mode, so they have the solos, they have the duos. So that's the other thing. Squads is just unimportant and completely irrelevant, apparently. If you want to play competitive squads, they don't care. They're like, you're good on that. We're all right. So it does look like Fortnite, at least competitively, is going strictly with solos and duos. I mean, that's been the format for all the events, so I'm not surprised. But still, I think it would have been nice to see, squads allowed to play with these old rules and the more aggressive rule set as well. But anyway, there's essentially 3 divisions. So there's the Open League, the Contender League, and the Champion League. Each of these divisions, or each of these leagues is going to have several divisions within them. So I mean, anybody who's played any game is going to be familiar with that. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rank kind of thing. And you're going to be based on. Now, I like it. They called their points hype points.
I like that too.
And you obviously. We talked about this a little bit last week, but you have a bus fare now. So you lose some hype every match that you play, and the higher division you are, the more expensive that bus fare is. So you have to actually do better. It's actually, I think that's going to put a lot of players in the middle, or like the 60 to 80% range. It's going to be really, really hard to stay up in that 90 to 100% range, because if you're matching all the best players and it costs you a lot more money or hype to play that game, you have to be absolutely one of the best players to stay at that top rank. Otherwise, you're just going to lose a bunch of games, fall down towards players that are, a little bit worse, and then beat them up, climb your way back up, and it's going to be an up and down. So I can sense some frustration coming from those, maybe 80th to 90th percentile players, or 70th to 90th in that range. I could see some frustration happening there. But there is a new cup. Now, this arena mode is actually how you're going to qualify for everything from now on. So you have to be in at least the Contender League in order to qualify for any upcoming event. And that's including the Lux Cup, which is taking place this weekend, March 30th, March 31st. And again, 100 large is on the line. Now, this is going to be duos. I believe it's duos only.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah,
duos only.
I'm taking a look here. I couldn't find, but yeah, I think you just beat me to it.
Yeah, so the prize pool is going to be distributed across all the server regions, so I'm not entirely sure how much each pool is going to get. We've been going for a long time. We haven't even gotten off patch notes yet. I just took a look at the clock. Good God. Yeah. I said before this episode started, the biggest concern was going to be to get ourselves through patch notes and not the whole episode. And so far we're kind of failing, but that's all right. We'll speed up the other sections if we have to.
This is important stuff, though. I mean, this is
what everybody wants to talk about, right?
Because this is such a pivotal time right now in the game. So a lot of the stuff really has to be hashed out. Fundamentals got to be out there and transparent, because everyone right now, this is the time where everyone's kicking it into high gear. So they're trying to perfect things as far as the competitive end goes, and you do now have way more limited times to actually try and rank yourself in these modes. So I love that they have all those things we mentioned were removed from the main game. They still have them in the arena mode for all these pop-up cups, or essentially now the arena mode, where you're going to rank for these for the Fortnite World Cup. So you still do get to play in a ranked mode with those settings. It's just a little bit separate from the regular casual solo. So I do believe you kind of have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. I think they're going to have to do some tweaking, obviously, but I agree with you. The one thing that I am concerned about, just before we kind of wrap this up, is that it does seem that they're giving a 3-hour time limit as well as 10 matches. I like the 10 match limit. I don't like the 3-hour time limit, because some of these games do go long. And this is almost, going to penalize a player who gets stuck in multiple 30-minute games or 25-minute games where the circle really shrinks and people are playing more cautiously.
Yeah.
You don't want to force a player to have to play overly aggressive in the last because it's like, oh my God, we're hitting the 15, 20-minute mark and this guy's not pushing me. I have to push him to end this game quickly. I don't necessarily think that is a great idea because essentially you're only giving people 180 minutes to play 10 games, which doesn't even average out to 20 minutes a game.
Yeah.
If you're a scrub like me, you're fine. You're going to die real quick anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if you're one of the better players, I could see that being very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that too, that they give everyone kind of this, this specific area where they want you to compete in this time window because you could, if you did have your 10 games spread out over the course of, say, a few days, I mean, you could play a few in the early morning, you could play a few in the afternoon, maybe in the evening. You can be flexible and you'll get, in my opinion, all different calibers of player at all different kinds of the day.
All the time. That's true. But even maybe if you just up it to 5 hours or something, I just think that 3 hours is too short.
No, I agree because I see what your point is because the best players that make it to endgame consistently might actually have an issue with. I think the longest game that I've personally been in was 21, 22 minutes, and that's going from all the way to the top too. So, people that make the end games consistently, which let's be honest, the top tier players, they'll most likely do that in their opening games, and then as it gets harder and harder, it'll be tougher for them to do consistently. But yeah, I can see at least a few people having some issue with that.
Absolutely. So this is going to be kind of, the segue into the actual World Cup qualification, because this is how, this arena mode, essentially you have to be playing this arena mode, have yourself at least that contender rank in order to play in any of, the World Cup qualifiers. So essentially World Cup is going to start April 13th. And they're going to be doing solo, duo, and alternating. So one weekend will be solo, the next weekend will be duo, back and forth, for a total of 10 weeks. So 5 solo cups, 5 duo cups. Okay. And this will be it will always take place on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. And the open finals guys are going to be $1 million each. 1 million.
Yeah. That's what I want to do. I'm actually going to give it a crack. I mean, I don't see why not. Give me one of those drift boards and a sniper. I'm good.
Yeah, right. I mean, hey, if you can hit some of the shots that we've been seeing on this thing, that would be amazing. So the one thing that I really wanted to bring attention to here from this was how this qualification is going to work. So essentially, you see how many qualification spots there are for each region here from this nice graphic that we've got pulled up on screen for you guys. So it looks like Europe is getting 8. North America is getting 8. But what I find, talking about solos right now, what I find very interesting is that the West Coast is getting less than the East Coast by a significant amount. It's not half and half, East Coast, West Coast. It's NA East gets 6 and NA West gets only 2. Personally, I don't really know. I mean, I'm assuming Epic has tons of statistics on their player base. They know where the West, where their players are. And I'm assuming based on these statistics that they have 3 times more players on the East Coast of North America than they do on the West. But knowing how big gaming is in California and Seattle and, how some of those are massive gaming hubs, that does seem a little bit strange to me personally. Obviously, Asia and Brazil and Oceania are getting less. Oceania only gets 1 each week, whereas Asia and Brazil get 2 weeks, 1 the other 3 weeks, for a total of 7.
Yeah, I really for that makes you think. Is there anybody that's going to say, "Hey, screw it, I'm going to go bring my setup over to the East Coast for a little bit and get some more opportunities"? Some people do have that capability right now, some of the players. So
yeah, absolutely.
Might be a viable strategy because there is no mid servers, only East and West. So you do have that strict. It's a little strict. I mean, what are you going to try to do? You're going to try to play on West Coast and then go through East server, but your ping's going to be close to 100. I mean, it's going to be tough in those end games as it is. So it's not really something that I can see anyone doing. Yeah,
me neither, especially because of how much is on the line. You definitely want to make sure you have the absolute best connection, but with 3 times as many spots up for grabs, if you have, your grandma or something and she has good internet and she lives on the East Coast, maybe worth the trip. Duos is
nobody's grandma has good internet.
Touche. Your brother. He lives in New York. Okay. He's got a nice job. He works on Wall Street or something. There we go. Because you're right. No one's grandma has good internet. Right now, we're gonna get a message from somebody. My grandma has gigabit. Well, you sir are lucky. Or
You might
Matt,
have a grandma
depending on who
watch.
messages. Yeah, maybe. I doubt it, but maybe. Probably a very young grandma, if so. Duos also same setup. So NA East has 3 times as many as NA West. 4 duos from Europe qualify each week. 3 duos from NA East. 1 duo from NA West. So let's take that in. Only the best team on the West Coast will qualify each week. If one duo were to come in second place all 5 weeks, they don't get in, which is kind of bananas to me. Asia, Brazil, and Oceania each get 3 duos each, 1 in week 2, 6, and 10. So they're not actually going to have any. If you live in Asia, which, by the way, Southeast Asia has just been lumped in with Asia in general. Brazil, I'm assuming if you live anywhere else in South America, you just have to play on the Brazilian server, and then Oceania, obviously. But they're going to have a lot less representation than, North America and Europe. Now, I guess that does make sense because for most games, you do see the majority of players and the larger player bases coming out of North America and Europe. But so for 2 of those weeks, if you live in Asia, Brazil, or Oceania, and you're a duo player, there's no competition for you. You might be able to still play. I'm not sure about that, but you won't qualify if you do. So there's no money or anything like that on the line. And obviously, guys, if you do win money, you have to, provide Epic with a bit more of the a bit more of your personal information, so they can actually pay you. That's kind of an important thing. I'm assuming if you win $1 million or whatever the share of it ends up being, that you're probably going to want to collect that money. So just make sure that you're of legal age and you can qualify and all that.
And if you do win the money, don't forget to pay your taxes.
Yes,
be very careful.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, the IRS or whatever your nation's equivalent is, those guys are real. They will throw you in a cage for not giving them their money. They are serious. Don't do that, friends. Do not do that.
Yeah, it could be a pretty overwhelming experience for a younger person. So especially if even parents don't have a full grasp on something like this, obviously steps have to be taken for these top players to make sure that they're financially stable in line and educated on that matter, because there's a lot of dough being thrown around right now, and you're going to see some of the best players in the world show out, and I'm guarantee you they're going to be some of the youngest players across the scope of the esports competitive scene, just in terms of age or average age. You're going to see quite a bit of that just because of the average player age, I believe, that plays the game.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, you even see just from the rules, like if you're 13 years old in the U.S., or it might be, a little bit older depending on where you're from,
the age,
you can compete.
Limit.
So
that's
I'm really
totally cool. I think 13 makes
awesome.
sense. A lot of kids, though, I can see that are even younger than that I've seen personally at local events that are, they seem like they're prodigies, But I'd say that there should be somewhat of an age cutoff. So I'd say it's really awesome having such a large window open for the player base to compete.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, some of these kids are so talented that to get them competing at a young age and to get them taking it seriously at a young age, because a lot of these other games, until you're graduated high school, you're not allowed to do anything, right?
Right.
And that's too bad, honestly, because a lot of these games, a lot of people have a lot less time to game after they graduate high school. They go to university or they have more real world responsibilities, and all of a sudden, yeah. Spoiler alert: being a grown up sucks.
You mean that's not what being grown up is? Playing games all the time? I mean, if you want, your power's eventually going to get cut off, and someone's going to be banging at your door in about 30 days. But you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a free country. You can do that. I wouldn't recommend it. Gotta get yourself to work at least like 20 hours a week, if not 30, to pay the bills, and that's really cutting it bare. Most people have to work a lot more than that. So enjoy it while you can, kids. I know your parents always tell you that being the kid is the best. They weren't lying. I always thought they were lying. They weren't lying.
Honestly, man, when I do like certain things like that to, make sure I got my stuff together and my whole life in order and you got all your ducks in a row, essentially, like you pay a bill or something like that, you feel so proud that, your mind feels even better after that. And in turn, it will make you a better player. No joke. Like if you let dishes pile up and you just sit there and do nothing but try to focus on the game, you might get better at the game, but your mental stability is not going to hold together probably that well, especially if you compete and don't do well. So just make sure you keep everything in, everything's a well-oiled machine. That's all you got to worry about. And trust me, you'll definitely excel as a player if that's your goal.
Absolutely. The holistic gamer approach.
Yes, indeed. Don't eat too much stir burger. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Avoid the Durr burger. I hear that's got all the bad stuff in it for you. All right, so we managed to breeze through that pretty quickly, which I'm happy about. Let's hop into the hot take. So I went on Reddit this week and I found two of the biggest community discussions that were going on. And we're gonna kind of quickly weigh in on them. Other weeks we might have more time to really delve into it, but this week we did spend an enormous amount of time on the patch notes, which as I said, warranted. But the first one was actually about the build sensitivity. Now, there used to be, you used to be able to switch it between your build sensitivity, your edit sensitivity. Now it's just one setting essentially. So we have a little graphic here that somebody put up on Reddit. The user is Vittorio Masia. So shout out to Vittorio Masia on Reddit. Great little graphic that he made here. So essentially, and this is a very good point, you have to have really high build sensitivity and really high like non-ADS sensitivity so that if you're getting shot from multiple angles, you can build quickly.
Right.
But then once you start editing things, you really want much smaller much smaller movements, much more minute sensitivity, a much lower sensitivity. And this maybe doesn't apply to PC players as much. I'm sure maybe for some of them it does. They would like the different changes, but obviously PC players are much more precise in general. But for console players, this is a big deal. And I'm sure it's the same thing on, I don't play on mobile or Switch or I guess Switch, you have the controllers, kind of like console, or a pad or anything like that. But I can see it being the same thing for them. What's your thought on this? Personally, I think I would love it if they had that extra setting because I do personally have. I hardly ever edit. I'm just gonna be honest here. I am that guy who builds stuff, and once it's built, that's how it is. It's
well done.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm not editing anything. I might edit the door, edit like a couple things out if no one's shooting at me and I just want to walk out. Right. But that's generally after. If I don't edit mid fight, I can't pull that off. This setting being, giving us multiple settings, I think would be really, really beneficial for that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's necessary. There's too many times where you're in the small area when you're in a box and you need to make quick edits. And those sensitivities definitely do need to be different because your build sensitivity, obviously, when you need to build a one by, you have to spin around fast. So your sensitivity is going to want to be a little higher than normal. Right. When it comes to editing, you're in such a smaller space generally. You're going to have to be a lot more accurate. So I believe that the editing sensitivity should not be the same. It should be tweaked a little bit to where it does give a little bit more stability when you're using it, because people are going to have to try and find some weird balance between the two, and in turn might slow down people as they're building, and then it can open them to getting shot in the back, more and stuff like that. So you really got to there are a couple of angles to it that you really have to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think overall, this is a good thread. I agree with these people. We should have that setting implemented, and I think that would do a lot of good for the game.
Yeah, amen to that.
Man, we're going. That was real quick. I like that. That's the definition of a hot take right there.
Because those are facts. That's why.
Yeah, that's a good point. Vittorio Masia, you spit facts, my friend.
It's like every time the patch, like we went through the patch notes, you saw how long that took. It's like every time the patch notes come out, it's like another episode of when Lost was out. You just had more questions than answers after the episode was over. You're like, whoa, how? But what about the? That's just how it feels every week almost. You got all these things that we have to make sense of, just because there's so much crazy stuff happening leading into the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm hoping will calm down a little bit with the World Cup coming up. I'm really hoping they try to stabilize it. I was a League of Legends fan for a long time. I still like the game, but I'll never forget the one World Championship where they released. I think it was something to do with. I know it had something to do with Darius and a couple of other champions, but they were basically so broken. Like they released this patch right before the World Championship, and basically everybody's strategy just went completely out the window. They're like, okay, well, we can't ban the other team now. We just have to ban these like six champions because they're must bans. They're just auto win otherwise. Especially for the team that picked second, it was terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we can avoid that for the World Cup. Epic, please, moderate.
I would hope that things start to level out as we hit the World Cup, or that mode stays in its own lane as far as new additions go. Because me personally, just how I feel about it, just real quick, unless they're not trying whatsoever to cater to any type of casual audience. I mean, the thing is, I think at this point, if you're a gamer or if you're into esports in any level, any capacity, you have heard the name Fortnite. So you're familiar with it in some way, and you probably know how the game works. for the most part, if you're into gaming at all. So that's just how streamlined it's become, and that's how, or mainstream it's become, excuse me, that you have seen it, in so many different places, especially when you have your parents, when you have your grandparents come up to you and be like, have you ever heard of Fortnite? Does that sound familiar to you? When you hear that, you're like, wow, this game has really reached a lot of people, like more than you think. So I don't know if they're trying to still reach an audience like that, or if they're only trying to just kind of satiate the casual audience that already play the game that aren't competing. Like basically the regular consumers, people that buy the skins and that just play the LTMs, people that have like regular fun on it, play it on and off with friends. I'm wondering who they're trying to cater to more with the World Cup, just in terms of a viewership scale, because obviously it would be interesting to see them try and rival numbers of top esports events that have went down for the World Cup. But with my whole thing is back to the point of slowing things down in terms of the updates for the World Cup, it makes me think of the Infinity Blade. If you're tuning in and you're like, wow, the Fortnite World Cup, I've heard a lot about this. Let me tune in and see what this is like. And you do have an idea of what the game is like, battle royale, third person, building. And then you see this blade getting swung around and just throttling everybody.
We playing Halo,
you're gonna think, oh, I guess I don't know this game, or what the heck is that? And some people, when they don't understand something, they just get like irrationally angry. So they're going to think, oh, this is stupid right off the bat, writing it off. So I just try to think in layers about things like that, where if they do have crazy stuff that's added right before a tournament, if they keep doing that same, or keep up with those same type of pattern, I wonder, unless they're not trying to really reach out in terms of extended viewership, I feel like they're just going to hurt themselves by doing that and essentially randomizing the game even more before it's put on such a wider scale. I think you want some consistency if you're going to put it out there like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. I think this is a conversation we can have, probably a full episode on another day, but it's always about it's about balancing, the casual fan base for any game with its most hardcore competitive fan base. Where is that happy middle ground? How do you bring the players together, but also give both parties what they want? That means you kind of have to split them up at times, but bring them together at other times. It's, I don't envy a lot of these guys' jobs. It is very complicated. But to get back to the second hot take topic, yeah, say that 5 times fast. There's the second one was essentially by 901H. And his thread said that this subreddit, referring to r/Fortnite VR, will be the death of this game. And essentially the gist, he kind of wrote an essay here, so I'm not going to make you guys read that. TLDR was too many people complaining about things that don't matter, things that are completely unrealistic, like they don't have any concept of what is actually doable in a short span of time or what is not. Things like, complaining about aim assist on controller when PC players always have the advantage. Talking about skins and bringing back limited time only skins and all this sort of stuff, and how it seems to be, at least to him and apparently from a lot of the community, because he got a lot of upvotes. I think it was it was upvoted nearly 3,000 times. He got golded twice and silvered nearly 9. He got silvered 9 times, almost 10 times for one post, which is pretty insane. So a lot of people seem to agree with this guy, and essentially, his point was there's always going to be bugs, there's always going to be glitches, there's going to be little small things like that. We can point them out to Epic when we find them, help them remove them at the, best speed possible, but we need to chill out and stop demanding everything left, right, and center from Epic. They can't, they're not God. They can't do everything. They have a gigantic game. It's probably blown up way more than they ever envisioned the game would blow up. I think if you asked anybody on the development team of Fortnite before the game was released, hey, so do you think you're going to have the #1 game in the world that has people that gets people on the TV, and your top player is hanging out with Juju Smith and Drake and stuff? They would have been like, you're crazy. Get out of my face. Like, we're trying to make a great game, but you've lost your mind.
Hanging out with Juju and Drake and Tyler Schumann. It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I love how you just dropped your name in there.
What are you talking about? I said Tyler Blevins.
Oh, I thought you said Tyler Schumann. Quick name drop. But personally, I kind of agree with them, because I do think, and I mean, I understand that subreddits are a place where people, and again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about how on the internet in general, not just for games, for everything, the people who are mad about something or angry are the ones who are going to post, take the time out of their day to write a complaint, make noise, whereas the people who are happy with the game, they're not on the subreddit, they're just playing the game, right? So what did you think about this? Because I understand this was a very interesting post. The conversation, if you guys want to check it out, actually, I think the whole Reddit thread had Some pretty decent conversations. Obviously, it's Reddit. There's a lot of memes and just meme responses in there, but some people made some really good points.
Yeah, well, yeah. Also, have to think Reddit is only a small section of the internet. As much as you want to believe it's a huge website, it's got a huge amount of users, huge platform, but it's still things go viral on Reddit and then cross posted to Facebook and Twitter and other things, Instagram and all that. So you do have to think that it is still a small section. It's essentially a forum, where a lot of developers do use Reddit or their own game subreddit as the home for games online forums without doing it at some other site. So there's because they know there's a lot of users, it's really popular, and you get a lot of instant feedback, which is great because of the upvoting system, and you can get right away they can see how people are reacting to the patch. And not just in real time with the newest comments, but the way Reddit works, it's always the most relevant. So you do have people now, as you see, blowing up that post where they were wondering what could be done about the subreddit. That they're afraid it's hurting the game so much it's going to be the death of the game. I think is what you said that they claimed in that thread. I mean, the way that the hive mind, as they call it, where the collective mind of the subreddit would work is, yeah, you do have a lot of memes on there, but there's a lot of ideas, so many ideas that get thrown around, so many of them really bad, some of them pretty good, and a few of them are brilliant, but most of them are stuff that you've seen 100 times, stuff that was mentioned months ago, and there's obviously people always trying to just tweet or not tweet but post and get karma and try to see if they can come up with some new ideas for the game. But the thing is, it can hurt the game because you're oversaturating the content on the subreddit with instead of some educational discussion or things on tips or how to get better at the game, which, by the way, you could find on the Fortnite competitive subreddit rather than the Fortnite BR subreddit. If you're looking for that stuff, you can actually, the Fortnite BR is more for the casual audience. And really, if you want to take a look at how the game is separated, you can see the way those two Reddits, respond to certain things. And as much as you want to believe that they're different communities, they're not. I mean, I use both subreddits. I think everybody pretty much bounces between them. It's just that the direction of the conversation is supposed to go one way on the comp side and another on the casual side. But with the casual side, you have a lot more room for people to, joke around and stuff like that. And it's been obvious that Epic, they like experimenting with things. So there's a lot of ideas that I've seen that just coincidentally concepts that people shared on there that got put into the game in some way, shape, or form. And you see those tweets that are blowing up of people that are recommending things, and then that'll get put into the game. Now, I personally think a lot of those are really coincidence. I don't think that they're seeing one specific tweet and they have a whole team of people that are working on the game and think, oh, okay, let's do that. That person isn't an employee at Epic. So I'm sure they have a lot of this stuff hashed out. They have constant meetings and they talk about these things. The way the game is currently, going right now, I do believe that they update the game with minimal testing on their end for new additions. And I think that's actually the idea, is that they want people to use them in every way that they can, every way that, they're how creative they can create content. And also that's how bugs get hashed out so fast. They do have that team of people, but it's not 100 million players. Of all the people that are playing the game, they can find problems a lot quicker, but that's the big drawback. They have to make sure that the servers are stable enough for things of that nature. So, I mean, hey, with the way that the subreddit's going, I mean, I agree. It gets worse and worse, and I think it's getting pretty negative on there, where people are reacting almost negative to every patch. And I mean, if I want to be honest, I don't recall the Reddit really being overly positive about one of the updates to the game since the 7.4 patch, where
people dislike change, right?
All of that's the thing. But that was one of the things where the game did change fundamentally, but it was for the better in everyone's opinion. So people do agree, but very rarely they.
Well, it's tough to get a million people to agree, right? 3 people in a room, they'll agree. You push that number up to 10, it's harder. You're probably going to get a debate. 100 people, very unlikely you're going to get everybody to come to a consensus. Once you have like 500,000 or 1 million users, good luck. You're going to have a civil war on your hands.
Exactly.
Hopefully not an actual civil war. That's a figure of speech, folks. Do not get Violence is bad.
You gave me an idea for the creative LTM. I'm going to add. Thank you, though.
Perfect. No problem. If you make it in, I want a little shout out in there somehow. But okay, guys, we do not have much time left, so now let's move to the clips of the week. Let's check out some of the best plays from the past 7 days and what has been going on. I'm really excited. Some of these are hype.
We got 5 this week, baby.
Yeah, I'm trying to do 5 every week. I'm trying to pull 5 up every week, guys. And again, if you have pull something off that's nasty, please send them to us on Twitter. Use that hashtag #TiltedTalk. Send them to me. Send them to Trooper. Send them to UGC, and we will. You could be nominated for a clip of the week. And at the end of this, season, there's going to be all the clips of the week winners are going to get put into something pretty cool. And we have some interesting ideas for you guys and some fun prizes and stuff. So get yourself into this discussion. Get your clips nominated, but. Let's kick this off with clip number 1. I believe it is from a man named, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this at all, Alficles123.
I think you nailed it.
I hope so.
Catches himself. Ooh, with the bop.
So look at this. He uses the impulse nade back with the
he didn't even
flint
know that
knock.
was there.
No, had no idea.
Could be wrong. So he fired himself back. He's hoping he catches himself, and then he just, look, hello, boom.
Oh,
the timing on that was brilliant.
Right?
I mean, I love the impulses being back, man. They were one of my favorite tools. Actually, you know what? These were both these guys were on the same team, so it actually looks like that this guy completely knew where his awareness was, I think, up there. I think he knew where these players were. So it makes me even wonder now how calculated was this play?
I don't know. It looks pretty calculated to me. Like, it looks very calculated. I mean,
that was
maybe not the fact that the guy was right there, but God, man, kids are good these days.
And that guy that got bopped right there, he was just thinking, now's a good time to edit out my ceiling.
Yeah, now's the time. He's going after my friend.
My friend got down. Let me edit this whole and help.
Nope. No helping. Just dying for you,
Great
my
play.
friend. Great play, Alficles. So that's clip number 1. Guys, if you're in the chat, we want to know who you think deserves to win clip of the week. Otherwise, it'll just be up to me and Trooper here. So if you have a vote, throw it in the chat. Just type in the number 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. We're not going to make you remember the guys' names. But for now, clip number 2. Crispy Potato.
Crispy Potato. All right.
So he's either going to be really good or a potato. But actually, this is hilarious. So that guy on the back of this is not his squad mate, okay? This is a solos game. This is the most unique, and I'm just gonna have to, preface this. This is the funniest kill I think I've ever seen in Fortnite. This guy just completely succumbs to his death. Do you know what he's gonna do?
He's got gliders.
Can you predict it?
He's got gliders in his inventory. Is he sending this guy to space or out of the map potentially and gliding back?
He might be.
This is great because this guy right now, he's already fully invested. The guy on the back seat. He's like, wow. This guy is having a blast with me. This is hilarious. I can't wait to put this on YouTube or Reddit, guy. Oh, excuse me. Dude, look at him go. That was so brilliant, bro. Team-rocking plastic off again.
And you can see Crispy there on his, this is a clip from his stream. You can see the smile on his face the whole time. And he's just going to send this man into the ocean and is just laughing. Just laughing. You can see he has to cover his mouth so he doesn't start laughing too hard. But oh man.
Oh, why'd you cut back while I was singing? No, that's perfect. I think I already found my clip of the week. I don't know. Right. We got 3 more to go though, so we'll see. Tall order.
All right. So clip number 3. That was a great one. Crispy Potato, good job. Definitely, guys. Apparently, we should go check out his stream because he does some funny stuff. But clip number 3, a Temple 47.
Oh,
a Temple 47 have for us.
That was your girlfriend. Woof.
Filthy.
That was a nasty shot.
Filthy.
I mean, it's just like, I was wondering how he did that. He had 2 flint knocks.
Yeah, double flint knock, impulse, double flint knock.
We were talking about that when it came out. How many people are going to use 2 of those to propel themselves twice? What a shot.
And then the no scope from the hunting rifle.
I don't want to crap on anybody that's a controller player because I am a controller player, but man, these are the kind of shots I never, like, I don't know if you ever can see something like this on a controller. Like, look how,
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think you can
You can
because
see in slow motion how accurate it
the
was.
180 was so smooth, right? He pulls that 180 instantaneously, no hesitation, and then just to line that up that quickly. I mean, good God, man! Shout out to a Temple. That was a disgusting play. I told you, man. I got some good ones this week. I was looking around. I was looking around. For number 4, we're gonna go to a man that most people will know, Tim the Tap Man, one of the funnier content creators, but the man has skills as well. So
I saw this clip. Did I? Oh, he couldn't even see that, dude. Oh
I mean,
my God.
this was just
that was with the Deagle.
showing off his board. No, it's
for some reason.
no, it's with the Deagle, but the gold Deagle does a ton of damage, and you have to hit that headshot though. But you see that aim, you can't even see him through your body. You take that in, like you kind of lose the opponent's player, like over Tim's body actually blocks his view of that player, and he just knew where he was and hits him anyway.
See, Tim, he's awesome, man, and he does a lot of stuff for the memes. But low key, Tim is a sweet player, dude. He is nasty because right there, you get just the player tracking that takes. That is some skill right there. He knows the game. He knows his setup so well that he's able to cap that fight. Look how smooth that was. And obviously in slow motion, you get a little peek of the guy over that left shoulder, but he's not seeing anything in real time. He's just seeing that. So he's just seeing that character, and he just knows where that center of the screen is. Yeah. A1 play, A1 awareness there by Tim.
Yeah, that was very, very impressive. So, guys, he's funny, but he can also shoot. So give him a watch if you haven't. He's definitely one of my favorite streamers. And finally, last but not least, we have JT Fulkerson. Now, this was just, I thought, some ridiculous aim. I mean, long distance use. This was really impressive to me. You can hardly see the guy.
Okay, let's see. Popped him for 2.
Hit him twice. Didn't miss a shot.
Damn.
With the hand cannon.
Okay.
Purple hand cannon. A little bit less. I mean, it's a little bit less impressive than some of the other clips, maybe, in my opinion.
Oh, but he moved up 5 feet, so now it's not as cool.
Oh,
Man.
Okay.
That guy made the mistake of not building after that first shot. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with a hand cannon to shoot somebody from that far away, that might be the longest distance hand cannon kill I've personally seen on Fortnite.
I've actually had a hand cannon kill that was, I mean, I'm not going to try and steal thunder and be like, oh, it was that far. Mine was probably closer than that, but I've had some long distance ones where I've killed them in 2 or 3 shots, and it is satisfying. And and that's skilled right there because he's using keyboard and mouse. Now I was using controller, so when you're in a little distance there, a little left trigger action. It's not OP though. It's not OP. I promise.
It's not. No, you're right. You're right. It's not OP. I don't know what people are talking about. All right, guys.
At all.
1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. If you're in the chat, let us know what clip you think deserves to win Clip of the Week. Remember, whoever wins Clip of the Week, they're going to get nominated for our end of the season competition here, where we're going to throw all the clips of the week into one big competition and figure out who had the clip of the season, and they're going to win something cool. Not sure what yet, but it'll be cool. I promise.
Maybe who's your vote shirt that you got going on there?
Another one of these.
Yeah, exactly. Signed by Trooper and Trooper.
Yeah, I think we can make that happen. We can make that happen for sure.
I gotta go. For clip, I'm going crispy potato, man. I told you. That's who I'm going. I didn't even see any of those clips beforehand, and man, that was too much. I loved it. Loved it.
I don't know. For me,
we have had weeks where we picked clips with skill. This is one of those weeks where I'm even gonna say that was skill. That was all skill right there. That was smart. That the clip that I'm talking about, by the way, guys, are the one where you had the player in solos on the back of the quad crusher, and he just flew the quad crusher all the way to the edge of the map, threw him out onto the water. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, so that was clip number 2. Damn, yeah. Do you know what? I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm kind of torn between clip 1, 2, and 3. I thought they were all absolutely phenomenal. Tim the Tapman is, a huge streamer, so he doesn't necessarily need the additional publicity. His shot was nasty too, though. I don't want to take anything away from him, but if you're going with clip 2, I'm happy to go with clip 2 as well. I don't really see anybody in chat giving us a different clip that they want.
It's either that or a fleet. Oh wow, now you got me. A Fleekles 1, 2, 3. It's either that or a Fleekies.
So you like the impulse? You like the impulse nade? You like the impulse nade into the hand knocks? over the double flint knock. I just call it hand knock. Double flint knock. I almost got through.
Oh,
a
is
whole
this
episode without
the one
messing
I was
something
talking?
up.
I'm maybe I got them mixed up. The one I was Oh, this is 32. I was referring to the one where the build battle. Yeah, this one where got sent back in time because he forgot something. Forgot his keys. Came on back.
That is a Fleekles. That is.
Hey guys, I'm here. Wait, forgot something at the house. Boom.
Okay.
That guy.
That was clip 1.
That was pretty sweet. I mean, it's close between those two. This one was pure skill and just concentration. I mean, he was later in the game. I mean, and he's solo duoed that team. A lot of variables there.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But I guess we don't really see anything from the chat right now in terms of votes, so we're gonna have to give it to clip number 2, the soaring quad crusher. Nice. So congratulations to Crispy Potato. We'll be sure to tag him and let him know that he won himself clip of the week this week.
He whispered, "I'll never let go" after he right when he jumped off the quad. In case you didn't know,
I'll never let go, Jack. Never let go. Never.
Even though there's video proof that he did just that.
But he did.
He's still.
I'm never gonna let go. I'm never gonna let.
Still earned in my book.
But that pretty much does it for us this week, guys. We didn't really see any questions in the chat. Somebody asked if they can play with us. Of course you can. Just shoot us your gamer tag or your Epic ID, whatever you play, and we'll try to get you into our lobby next time we're playing. I only play on Xbox because I don't have hands. I mean, I do, but they're not very good. So I try to avoid the PC thing because I would just make a mockery of myself. I don't need to do that. But personally, guys, I thought this was a great episode. I know we talked a lot about that major change with the patch notes that came in and everything like that, but I thought it went really, really well. So thank you guys so much if you stuck around and watched the entire time. We love you. Take care.
Peace.
Mwah.